Hello. Well, I'm back with another topic that is so very relevant in these days of socially inept people saying that everybody is equal in their genius. They're all little geniuses. You're holding all those little geniuses back. And then somehow all those little geniuses should be given some type of score, depending on did their daddy beat them when they were kids, and maybe they get a higher SAT score from that. This is where society is going, folks. I do society because it's not civilization. It's just it's a ring of. Okay, I'll just be nice in my words here. Verily dumb people. Okay, so the topic is really is Friedrich Nietzsche or Nietzsche. Okay, so will der Macht, will the power. What is the import for today? Well, he said that will to power is people inevitably will try to get to the highest position in life. Well, whatever civilization is deemed that those highest positions are. And we see that many politicians are this way, of course. Very driven. So, it's not always about helping people. It can also be about this personal drive to be at the top. That's always something we have to be aware of, that people's intentions are not always the best. They may end up helping people, or they may end up harming people, or a mix of both, really. That's life. So, when we come to will to power, in my view, it's excellence, The people who have this consciousness and use that will of consciousness to drive themselves, and they use it to think freely. Okay, I've always said you don't have to be religious to be good, So what we have is thoughtfulness and persistent questioning of life. Always asking why, and how. Really, why and how life happens. If anyone does that and they're thoughtful, they will be a good person. They will transform themselves into a good person. So we see that's a secular thought. That's not a religious thought. This idea of having an external power source to be good. Well, okay, so if God created us like this, why would we need an external power source then to be good? He created us that way, right? He created us good people, thoughtful, with the ability to question all things. Well, not according to Genesis. That's just, well, that was a big no-no. Of course, that was a satanic thought in Genesis. And this all rolls up into what Nietzsche was saying regarding the all these thoughts on, should religion dictate our lives? And that was a big deal back then when you were saying that. That could be, did get him in trouble. So, and that is generally accepted. He is generally accepted as being true these days. Of course, it depends on the educational institution. You have far left. They say will to power, but they do mean blind ambition. Unfortunately, they're really going for the ring of power. They're climbing the ladder for that suitcase full of whatever. I do watch wrestling from time to time. That's interesting. I find it, sometimes they actually hit the nail right on the head. They do watch the news and try to incorporate, the big world of stuff that's going on. And they say, well, these people are idiots. Look at the way they act on television. Well, people were that brute and honest and forceful, things would be actually a lot better. The thing is, we have so many people that are conflating ideas. Is one thing means another, and nothing means anything, and we're all nirvana, and we're all the same, and it's just it's craziness. That's what Nietzsche was going back to, was the standards of life, discarding the nihilism, that really nothing matters, and that, of course, he did say that, he did argue about objectivism, and then he came up with these arguments also that we need to discard the nothing in life matters, willed and nothing. And then we come up with standards, really. We have so many standards There's standards, logic. Logic is a standard. And then we have higher reasonings. Those can be built into standards, but that's much, much more difficult. You would think a lot of people would get to reasoning. They do, when they listen to music. But then, somehow they just stick around the logic. They're getting, the usages, and which are mundane ideas of life. They're not pushing themselves in to listen to scholars and philosophers to get past the mundane ideas. I do come off as a bit pretentious sometimes about this, but you have been notified. There's that really strange notification sound. Okay, so the idea is, philosophers have been talking about this for thousands of years, about democracy. Epicurus went on and on about, if God was real, then where is he? Should we worship a God that doesn't ever show up? Well, not really, but people do. And that's a closed system. Unfortunately, people shut down and then stop reading. They stop all sorts of things that they should be doing. Asking questions. It's better to be able to ask questions than to go through life not being able to ask a question. That's not exactly the quote. It's Richard Feynman, the physicist here. And that's a much loved quote by many people. So we come back to, Übermensch, so people with like a really high intellect. I'm not talking about intelligence, we're talking about an all-around score. People that just understand the gravity of life. They know what life is, and then sometimes they refuse. They just refuse to say, well, this is life, and I'm just going to do something else. And that's the right, fine. Okay. But I take this very seriously, If I have a nearly dead reckoning of life because of usage and getting down to the exact usage and finding out the, even as far as going into intent behind, like laws, that are not necessarily built around for good intentions. They're just rationalizations that people are using and abusing. So I feel like I've come up to some absolutes in life regarding really intellectual people are usually very peaceable people. And they're not affected so much by life. That's just a very general observation. That does not apply to everybody. There's so many conditions of life put upon people. So what we come up with is there is like this idea that people are born noble because they have this exact reckoning of life. They see reality for exactly what it is. That's another way of putting it. So, should those people help other people? Well, I think so. You know, it's part of the legacy of yourself as you have the sovereign being. I consider myself a sovereign being. So, if I never write it down, if I never record anything and never help anyone, no one's ever going to know about it? Well, I guess you could say that's nihilism. Does it really matter? Well, yeah. Because if, 100 years from now, people say, hey, look at that guy right there, man. Yeah, we're going to do exactly what he said. Whether or not that's me or not. Man, that door just closed very spookily, but there is air coming through here. Wow, that kind of tripped me out. But yeah, a good idea is, without coming off as a pretentious bastard, yeah, people with gifts should help other people that are in the normal range, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's not being mean. What's being mean is saying there's no difference and then nobody helps anybody. And that's kind of like how socialism works. It ends up working like that. Everything's conflated. Everything's like this nirvana bullshit concept. And then nothing ever happens. There's no will to do anything. There's no incentive. People sit around. They get angry. You see in Britain, they're stabbing people. I mean, people are just coming out and just, they're trying to ban knives now, because they just have this, they keep going back to a nanny state, and and they don't get it, They had a fully socialized economy that tanked in the 70s, and so they keep coming back, and people get frustrated, and they start taking it out on the streets. They take it to the streets in a bad way. Okay, so if I knew better, and I knew exactly all the processes to get the economy where it should be, and I never said anything, and just let people, slaughter each other in the streets, that makes me a bad person, really. And I don't think anybody can really argue that, because that really, caring equals action, really. So there's no action on my part. So how can I even claim that I'm, say if I said, I went around and said, oh, I'm Ubermensch. No, you're not, because you don't do jack shit. Yeah, you're a piece of shit, man. I say, yeah, you're right. I'm a piece of shit, because all doesn't matter, because I just proved nihilism, that all doesn't matter because I never did anything. And, yeah, there's circles of thought that philosophers like Menschke were, excuse me, I just lost his name. Okay, Frederick, something or other. I have a bit of a memory problem. I apologize for that. But Nietzsche, excuse me. Well, he went around in circles, and that's a great thing because it all does go around in a sphere of thought. That there is inequality of life that can never be fixed by the government. So it takes people to care for other people, not the government. And one of the ways is by promoting a extraordinary economy. Things just get better for everybody. And then we can see about the rest when we're all at the place that we should be, which is, we're able to propel ourselves in the free market as individuals, not as a collective. Well, it depends. It depends. If you're talking about like the collective of labor unions, that's that's a different idea. What I'm talking about is the beehive mentality. We're not worker bees. We're individuals, and we have our own thoughts on how we can make money. And that's the way it should be, because competition always breeds. That's a bad word for that, but the better word for that is cascade. It's a cascading effect of competition in the free market. And this all plays in with Friedrich Nietzsche, will to power, ingenuity, consciousness, sovereignty of the individual, and round in the sphere. All these pins on the sphere come together and create great philosophy. Anyways, I'm about tired of talking. Thank you.